Well, greetings from Just Car People Things at gorgeous, sunny Road America, located about an hour north of Milwaukee in Wisconsin, a land of good beer, good brats, and lots of cheese curds. We spent a long weekend for the IMSA Sports Car Weekend at the race, and wanted to just share a little bit of a walk around. And to start, this is our view from up near turn 6-7 and through an area of the racetrack called Hurry Downs, which is a really cool part of the track. We'll walk around the garage a bit and share the level of access that you get with some of these IMSA events that you just don't get anywhere else. You don't see a crazy gold Lamborghini very often, and this is one of the Lamborghini Trofeo Cup cars that's rolling around. And right here is the roll-off of all of our different cars that are there for the IMSA WeatherTech series. And this is the highest class. Here we can see some their prototypes, some GTD cars. There's the Lexuses right there, the Corvette, the Acuras just went rolling out there. And it's a big group of cars. There are a pretty large number of vehicles that are on track, 30 to 40 for some of these races. It's very competitive with multiple classes racing together, and who doesn't love that sound? There's the lovely AO Racing Rexy race car, which is the big Tyrannosaurus themed 911, which we just adore. But it's super cool to see everybody roll out together. This is for a practice, which you can watch, and you can walk right up to the fence here. I didn't have to buy a special pass or anything else. It just was a weekend ticket and a camping wristband, and that was it. And that's kind of one of the craziest parts about these IMSA events, is just the level of access that you get without having to spend a fortune for it. And for that, we love it. Walking around the garage is one of the coolest parts. The paddock area is one of the coolest parts of any IMSA race. And here we've got some crew guys joking and laughing as they push out a Grand Sport car. This is the class below the cars we just saw rolling out. And here's all the safety cars. Obviously IMSA is represented, has a lot of our manufacturers represented, and it's super fun to see all of them. Those Z06 pace cars in that blue color are particularly great. There's an LMP car rolling past right there. There are three prototype classes. There's a top class LMP Daytona Prototype International. Then there's an LMP 2 and 3, which the LMP 2 and 3 cars look very similar, although one of them, the LMP 3 car, is a little bit more off the shelf and isn't quite as powerful and tends to be about 5 or 10 seconds a lap slower. There's a Volt Racing GT Daytona 911 RSR factory 911 race car. Custom-driven 911 race car. And here's Rexy. I love their golf cart. Isn't it great? They've got some stuff up for their super fun T-Rex themed 911 RSR, and it is gorgeous. You can see how wide those fenders are on the GTD cars. Super fun. They've got a great garage. You also run into drivers walking around. One just cruised past us right there. It's pretty common to see the drivers out. They do autograph sessions. They come out and say hello to folks. They'll talk to the team. You'll see them walking around. And not uncommon to see some big international names, and then some kind of lower level drivers who are just getting rolling. It's an LMP car right there. And kind of the fun part about the paddock as you walk around is just the sheer variety of cars, and all of it's bespoke. Everything here is custom. You look at the trailers, and this is actually an all-female driven team. Catherine Legg is really the lead driver for this Acura, the JG Wentworth Acura. But fun-looking car, and they did pretty well, so that's always good. You do have to be on your toes a little bit walking around. There's a lot of traffic flying around, but there's really no restriction, and I've never really seen anyone actually get hit, but occasionally you'll need to jump out of the way when a car goes rolling through. There's the Windward guys. They're in their Mercedes. They've got a pair of AMG Mercedes that they race. And those are in the Pilot Challenge, not to be confused with the WeatherTech series. The WeatherTech cars, there's a few classes on track. The Pilot Challenge, there's a few classes on track, and this is one of them. The Pilot Challenge has TCR, or touring car racing, which tends to be a little bit more traditional sedans and sports cars. You see the Elantra Ns, you see Civic Type Rs, vehicles like that. And then you jump over to the Grand Sport cars, which there's 3 of them sitting right there, a Camaro, a Cayman, and the 2 Turner BMWs. There's one of them rolling into tech inspection there on the right. So they queue all the cars up between sessions, and when they qualify, you see they have a technical inspection section, and they go through and roll the vehicles in to check them all out and make sure that nobody's cheating too much. Very, very common to see tire sets, either from Michelin for all the IMSA guys or from Hankook for the Lamborghini guys, rolling through. And there's a set right there of some slicks that have been worn in from JDC guys. And Heart of Racing, Aston Martin, great livery. That car's been very successful at these events, and they have GT Daytona cars or GT3 spec cars like that one. They also have the GT4 spec, which are folks like Windward and Aston Martin, Stoner, Invisible Glass runs a car, Impact, Baby Bull runs a car. There's some GS Aston Martins floating out there too. This is a kind of prototype row. There's a train of tires. This is kind of prototype row as we walk down the way here. And I love this. You get this big crowd of kids, which is super fun. You got a bunch of probably 10 or 11-year-old kids running around and being led around, and they're allowed to be out here too. They can't get access to hot pits, nor can most people. It's really the only place you're not allowed. Here we've got a nice LMP car rolling in front of us. It looks like an LMP. I think it's an LMP3. And the LMP3 cars are about 400 horsepower. They are a canned motor, canned transmission vehicle, so they tend to be a pretty off-the-shelf. There's a couple manufacturers of the chassis, whether it's Orica or Delar or Ligier or some of the names you've probably heard before. And basically, people just write a check, and the whole race. Excuse us, coming through. gotta be careful to not be in the way. There's a whole class of those LMP cars that people just sort of write the check and they get to go racing, which is pretty cool. And we've got one of the GS Mercedes rolling out here, and you know what? There's just constant traffic. I love the energy you get being in one of these areas on like a Saturday or Sunday before the race. But we'll get rolling. We'll follow this guy out here and get a close-up view. A few rub marks here and there. One thing I'll mention about a lot of the race cars is when you get up close to them, they're not often quite as clean and straight body panel as you'd expect. This is a cool opportunity to walk kind of closer to the pits, and you can walk right up to that chain link fence to observe the pits and the action in the pits even during the race, which is pretty wild. But that big pile of parts there was a crash cart for a Porsche, and you see what they call them crash carts often. This is if something happens to the car out on track, we ding up a door or a fender or whatever else, we have the parts right there, ready to go. I love the Buddha logo for the Kelly Moss and Riley guys. There's a scrub set of slicks, there's a set of reins, and we're on a pit stop. So this is a pit interval here during a practice or a race. They're running around. You get 2 guys to do the tire changes, and then 2 guys to grab the tires, and then you've got a fueler who's over the wall. And you can see the fuel guy in the 911s is there on the front. Some of the shorter fuel guys actually have to jump up on the hoods to fill the Porsches, because they fill right up in front where their fuel tank is. And there we go. We're away. So see what they actually did a driver change. Driver standing right there in front of us, and he just jumped out of the car. So here's a change on a LMP car from about the same spot. They came in about a minute or 2 later. And you can see how quick these guys are. They've got single center locks. They've got an impact gun. And they'll move awful quick to get all 4 tires off. See the guy's got his arm up showing he's good on the other side of the car. Tires start coming over the wall because you don't want to have those roll down the pit lane. You get in trouble. You get a penalty if that happens. So they're away. There we go. So that was it. It could be a pretty quick process. Pit stops are typically in the 10 to 15 second range for these guys. It's certainly not the F1 world where there's 10 guys or 12 guys jumping over the wall, but that is how it works. We should also talk a little bit about the painful side of racing sometimes, and this LMP car had an unfortunate close encounter with a wall during practice, and this poor guy on the team here on the right is in charge of sorting out all bits of carbon fiber that might be able to be salvaged. You can see it, that might be their driver there walking up, probably saying, "I'm sorry." That's usually how it works. So you go through and you can just see this. These are all kind of bespoke carbon fiber bits that are attached to an LMP car. And anything salvageable they'll set aside and obviously reuse, because if you can reuse maybe a splitter or a dive plane or whatever else, you absolutely will. This stuff isn't cheap, and these teams do operate on a budget. Got a hub there, and then some other parts, brake ducting. There's some under tray, and there's what's left of the front end. So with that, there's a GS car. This is a Cayman. I believe Spencer Pumpelly drives this, pretty well-known name. You can see they've got grip tape actually right there on the hood, and that's for the fuel guy to jump up and put fuel into the nozzle receptacle right there. And you actually will see the guys jump up with their knees on the right and left of that and actually sit right on the front of the car. Here's a quick shot of the Turner Grand Sport BMWs rolling past. The Turner guys have a really impressive operation. They're very well run. We've got a couple really nice race trailers, and we've got to get out of the way of this TCR car. They're pushing it, so I don't have to run. But Audi competes in TCR in addition to the Civics and a few other vehicles, the Hyundais, and you see a fair number of those. But those Turner BMWs are super sharp. They've been very active for a long time in motorsports. They've had a lot of success with those cars, won a lot of races, very experienced drivers historically, and just great looking. It's a really cool looking car. The thing about a Grand Sport car is that they are factory bodied. So while they might have wings and they might have additional splitters or maybe a little additional aero, the body itself of the vehicle tends to be relatively stock. So the fenders are stock. All the panels are the same panels that you would get on a street car. And I just love that low hum you get when a race car rolls past you. And it's probably one of the coolest things about the access that you get in the world of IMSA and the world of coming to some of these races. And they do them all over the country. And you'll get to watch these guys prep these absolutely fun race cars to go out all over the place. And just to give you an idea of how close you can be, this guy's doing a fuel pull out of an LMP3 car here, and he's got his fire suit on and is being attentive to that. But it's amazing that they'll let you walk right up and check it all out. So all this to say, we really appreciate you guys tuning in, and if you enjoy this sort of content, we'll keep doing this stuff. And like, subscribe, share it with your friends. Drop a comment in the comments below. We're more than happy to answer any questions. And with that, we will leave you with your moment of zen, which is the Lamborghini Trofeo Cup cars zipping past us out from under the Sargento Bridge.